Hey kids, you are about to listen to a comedy podcast. That means that none of this is medical advice. If you need medical advice or medical care, please contact your doctor.
Welcome to the Jock Doc podcast featuring Dr. London Smith. He's healthy and fit, and his podcast is lit. Introducing your host, Dr. London Smith.
Hello, and welcome to the Jock Doc podcast, where we discuss fitness and health and how to incorporate our modern understanding of science and medicine into our daily lives, but without it being so boring. I'm your host, drlondonsmith.com. I would like to begin by apologizing to our listeners. We have received some feedback about the excessive amount of technical medical terms that I've been using, such as calcaneal compression test and good old-fashioned home-cooked meal. So I will try to temper my terminology to a simpler one in the future. Here to help with that is our producer, Cameron.
That's right, Dr. London. I am here to help.
All right. So Cameron is so dedicated to making sure... I'm sorry, what was that?
Just say I'm helpful.
Okay. Cameron is so dedicated to making sure that our podcast stays relevant.
Why can't you say it? That I'm helpful.
Oh, no, Cameron, you are helpful. Yeah, you provide the mics and...
Oh, okay. And the long pause was just because there were too many words you were thinking of that just to pick one was too difficult?
No, is this coming from something? Are you upset with me about something?
Oh, no, I mentioned that I was here to help, and then you didn't say, "Oh, you're so helpful," which usually when I tell someone I'm here to help, they congratulate me and sort of kind of praise me for being so helpful. You didn't do that.
Because for me, whenever you say I'm here to help, that's like
I'm
a
here to
future
help. Oh yeah, I'm not going to help right now.
When you say you're not going to help right now,
I'm here to help at some point when it works with my schedule. Yes.
So you are, because whenever you say you are here to help, I think you're physically present here. So you must be here to help. Like that puts it in context to me.
I show up to my job every single day and I say, "Hey boss, I'm here to help." Now, I cannot guarantee when that help is going to be done. Does that make sense?
Not really.
Just move on.
Also, you have a job?
Yeah, my job as the podcast producer.
Okay.
So I show up to my job every single day, which is your house. And I say to my boss, which is you, "I'm here to help." You notice how I do that every day at your house?
Is this while I'm gone?
I don't know. I have no idea. It's so dark.
Okay. Well, yeah, I turn the lights off when I'm gone. Anyway,
that would make sense. Okay.
So Cameron is so dedicated to making sure that our podcast stays relevant that when he heard that it was Dr. Seuss's birthday, he went to his shed and he began working on something for what he termed the Good Doctor. So Cameron, any update on that project? Or were you building a shed?
Wait, was I building a shed? I was not building a shed.
Okay.
I was building a device.
Okay. And what was the device?
Well, you know this Good Doctor, right? The one from the TV show?
Well, that's different from Dr. Seuss. I don't know if you're aware.
So, if this Good Doctor guy, if he's, he's like, is he the one that's kind of an asshole, or is he the one that's kind of weird? I can't remember.
I'm not sure.
Well, either way, we can just like fix him with this device. This was the whole idea. I bring it onto set of the Good Doctor. Go to this
it fixes him.
Yeah, go up to this guy who's clearly got issues. He's either really angry or he's autistic. I don't remember which show is this one. But either way, the device is just sort of a fixing machine. So it's going to figure out what the issue is.
Wow. How does it fix them? Like, what does it do?
Well, that's the I'm still that this is the part I'm still working on.
Giving it purpose?
No, giving it the ability to do what I'm setting it out to do, which is to fix the issues
Okay.
in people.
Okay, so it sounds
And
like
then
it's
once
still
I
in the
figure
early
that
stages.
part out, that's really it. That's like I'm basically one step away.
Wow.
Once
And the
I figure
step-
out how to get the device to fix people, then I'm golden.
Okay. Okay, well, so anyway.
So I'm 90% done.
To clarify regarding Dr. Seuss's birthday, Dr. Seuss, aka Theodore Seuss Geisel, he was an American children's author who is most widely known for writing and illustrating more than 60 books under the pen name Dr. Seuss. And so that's the doctor I thought you were referring to. Anyway, also with us is DJ Dill in the house.
I'm here to help. I'm here to help. I'm here to help. I'm here to help. At some point when it works with my schedule.
So I will try to temper my terminology to a simpler terminology. Temper my terminology to a simpler terminology.
Temper my terminology to a simpler terminology.
I'm here to help.
At some point when it works with my schedule.
Yes.
And later, Cameron tells me that we can expect a special guest.
That's right, Dr. London.
Right, so go ahead and look forward to that. Before we move on, I would like to address a bit of listener feedback. I found this note, presumably from a listener, carved into the table under the spot where my prescription pad used to be. The note reads, quote, "Don't forget, tomorrow starts the new Facebook rule where they can use your photos. Don't forget deadline today. It can be used in court cases and litigation against you. Everything you've ever posted becomes public from today, even messages that have been deleted or photos not allowed. It costs nothing for a simple copy and paste, better safe than sorry. I do not give Facebook or any entities associated with Facebook permission to use my pictures, information, messages, or posts, both past and future." End quote.
Ooh, I can't wait for that day. The day when all the pictures
future?
become public.
Okay.
Think about the advertising we can do, Dr. London, once that day happens. Take any picture you find online. Once this magic day happens where the day comes and goes and then there's just no copyrights anymore on pictures, we can make it look like Robert Downey Jr. went to your doctor's office, Dr. London.
Okay, so you think the Photoshop ability from private photos is the big gain from this?
For us, yeah. If what they're saying is true, which this isn't the first time I've heard this, so I have to believe it's true.
Yes.
Then after a certain day, if all these people who don't post this important message that you're supposed to repost, their images aren't going to be protected. So that means any celebrity, Dr. London. Oh, Paris Hilton came on the podcast. Oh, how can I prove that that was real? Picture.
Okay, well, I don't like to be dishonest in our advertisements. I'd rather be, we tell people it's a medical education podcast, and I usually leave it at that.
Okay, well, if you wanted honesty in our advertising, you should have mentioned that a long time ago, because that ship has sailed.
Well, what are you currently advertising us as? How are
Just
you?
whatever gets clicks, baby.
Okay, well, anyway, to this listener, I'd like to thank you so much for your insightful question here on the Jock Dog podcast. We love to hear from our listeners. To answer your question, I am not sure how much of your personal information Facebook uses, but from what I understand, it is more than what most people wish to think about.
So, for example, at the ignoring everything you just said, I wasn't listening. But so part of the advertising I've been doing, which is a lie, but it has been effective, is the Daytona 500 happened recently, and I was advertising there, and I was telling its audience, targeted advertising, if you go see Dr. London, he'll make you fast as a race car.
Okay, so
Which is perfect for that audience. Don't you think so?
I
They
mean,
were eating
seems
it
like
up. They loved it.
It's promising something that we can't really deliver, though.
That is for you to figure out.
And also, so advertising for the podcast isn't advertising for my practice. Those are two separate things.
Yeah, it's all encompassing. Anything that helps the practice helps the podcast. Anything that helps the podcast helps the practice. It's all one giant blob.
I'm not so sure. But anyway, to this listener, thank you for listening. And now for a tale from the clinic. I had a patient present to me with some issues of constipation. So I began to ask him about his usual bowel habits, like how often he normally has bowel movements, how much water he drinks, things of that nature. And then he took out a notebook. In that notebook were 3 years of bowel movement documentation, including details of color, quantity, and even texture. Needless to say,
which isn't that weird. That's a normal thing that I think most people do. It kind of sounds like you're teasing this guy, but I think that is a common thing. But go ahead.
Okay, well, so what I was going to say about it is that it's more information than I required from the patient in that visit. But it is nice to be, it's better to be over-prepared than under-prepared, I guess.
Exactly, yes.
But usually the questions are like, how many times in a week, you can give more of an average,
But I think a log of logs, if you will, I think that's pretty useful. And I think if I personally, this patient that you're making fun of, I think that, you could maybe be even a little more thorough than this guy. Maybe you could keep a little bit of a sample every day.
Okay, Cameron, do you keep samples of...
And, baby food jars, they're tiny. They don't take up much space. Maybe you have one of those for every day.
Are you suggesting that to me, or are you saying that you already do this?
I'm saying it wouldn't be weird if someone decided to do that.
I guess, to me, that would be weird. That would be unusual. From my perspective, I don't think that the average person does that.
Well, it sounds like your friend does right here.
Well, he was, I would say we were friendly, but he was a patient. And I was commenting on how strange it was. Do you see?
Just go ahead.
Okay. Now for today's medical topic, superficial thrombophlebitis. Superficial thrombophlebitis is when you have small blood clots in a particular area under the skin. In the upper extremities, it usually occurs at the site of an IV infusion. In the lower extremities, it is usually associated with varicose veins, secondary to static blood flow in these veins. Clinically, superficial thrombophlebitis presents with pain, tenderness, induration, and erythema along the course of the vein. So it's sort of bigger and red and defined. A tender cord may also be palpated. And palpation, of course, is the term for physically feeling that part of the skin with your hand.
And, I think this is one thing you shouldn't beat yourself up over. I think we all go through periods where we're a little more superficial and maybe, a little more materialistic, or we kind of get, caught into the cool kid crowd. Maybe the cool kids start inviting you to parties and starting to hang out and maybe go to lunch or maybe go to Witch Witch. And so you guys are hanging out at Witch Witch all the time. You're getting the Wicked, that's the 5 meat with the 3 cheeses. And you can get that hot or you can get that cold. So you're getting a big, hot, Wicked sandwich from Witch Witch, right? And then you're yeah, you've cut out all of your old friends because you've decided that this superficial cool life who's all about cool clothes and cars and stuff and chicks and babes, maybe that is the life for you. And maybe that's not that big of a deal. Everyone's got to explore a little bit.
Well, okay, so this is a sort of a different thing, Cameron. And I thank you for bringing this up, because I didn't realize my terminology could have been so confusing. So superficial is a term not only for
dweeb. No, I'm just joshing, man. I'm just joking.
So superficial means
nerd.
The upper layer. Sorry, you're calling me a nerd now?
Weeb.
On an education podcast?
Nerd. No, it's
So-
fine. It's fine, dude. It's just like, I've got my new friends now, so it's just like, I care about like different things than you do.
Okay, honestly, Cameron, I don't approve of these friends you've been having.
Oh, whatever. It's just because they don't want to hang out with you.
Yeah, but they also, try to pull pranks on me.
They're just trying to have fun. Sorry that you don't remember what that's like because you're so old.
Okay, because I've had glass and feces. I found that stuck to the walls of my house before.
Duh. 'Cause it's funny.
Was that your feces?
It's impossible to know whose it was. It was all together. It was all like mixed.
Oh, that is stanky.
Oh, wait. So, is this friend group that you've been hanging out with lately, the superficial materialistic ones, are they the ones who think it's normal to to bottle up your feces?
It was strange to me at first too, but now that I see it and they have told me that it's cool, I realize that it is actually very cool to do.
Because yeah, I didn't think you had this habit before, but is this what made you like them, or was it something else?
What do you mean, what made me like them? I like them because they're the cool guys, man. Of course I'm going to hang out with the cool guys. And if they're going to tell me, hey, we need you to collect a little bit of your poop every single day, hell yeah, I'm going to do it. It doesn't make sense to me either. I don't understand it, but they need it from me. And I'm not a freak because of it. I'm cool.
Okay.
Not like you, nerd.
All right. Well, let me go on. In terms of treatment, no anticoagulation is typically required, as superficial thrombophlebitis rarely causes pulmonary embolism. For localized thrombophlebitis, a mild analgesic, such as aspirin or ibuprofen, an elevation or hot compresses might be warranted, but these patients can typically continue activity. On the other hand, if it is suppurative thrombophlebitis, as caused by septic phlebitis, typically due to an infection of an IV cannula, the redness will extend beyond the area of the vein and purulent drainage may be present. Treatment here would be to remove the cannula and to administer antibiotics. Systemic antibiotics, that is.
Hey, what time are you going to leave the studio?
My house?
Yeah, well, what time? When are you going to go home?
Okay. Why do you ask? This sounds
No reason.
suspicious.
Just tell me.
Well, I don't think I'll tell you. I'm not sure when exactly.
All right, he's going to be gone for at least another 3-4 hours. So just get it done. All right. Okay. See ya.
Okay. All right. Cameron, do we have a sponsor today?
Unfortunately, we do not, Dr. London. It's just been one of those weeks,
Yeah.
where the sponsors just aren't hitting like they should.
You do actively seem to work to get rid of them sometimes.
Well, I mean, I do see it sort of like a dating app. Like a successful dating app will get people off the app, And so I see it as the same. Like once we've connected our sponsors with their future clients, then we should be happy for them and let them go.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't...
But anyway, that's beside the point.
Okay.
We don't have a sponsor this week. So I wanted to hear a little bit more about you, Dr. London. I know we've talked a little bit about, your dating history and your past, but I think one of the most interesting and scientific and most medical ways to learn about someone is by interpreting their dreams. Wouldn't you agree, Dr. London?
I mean, there are aspects of psychology that go into that more. Medicine.
Science and medicine.
Yeah.
And magic.
See, whenever you bring in magic.
Wouldn't you say dreams are magic?
No.
Could you explain the science behind dreams being magic?
I don't think I can explain that. I mean, we can talk about the phases of sleep. Going. I mean, REM.
A face of sleep?
No, phases. Not face. Is this part of...
I don't want to see the face of sleep, Dr. London.
Okay. So I take it that you've been having some... Do you dream of a face whenever you go to sleep?
No, but I definitely don't want to.
Oh, this is one of your fears.
Yeah.
Okay.
I definitely don't want to see a face when I'm going to sleep, Dr. London. But I want to... We're not here to learn about me and my fears of a face that looks like a specific person from my childhood. Anyway, we're here to learn about you, Dr. London.
Okay. So you're
what?
You're wanting to hear one of my dreams?
Yes. I want to hear a recent dream that you've had.
I'm trying to think of how this would benefit the listener. Okay, so, and these dreams happen during REM sleep. That's named after, rapid eye movement. Okay.
It's the end of the world as we know it.
I'm sorry, not that REM. This is a different.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So for me, I have had this dream a few times where I'm asleep. Not
in the dream.
I'm sorry, not in the dream. So I find myself in a lake.
Okay.
All right, and I'm swimming, and then it's a lake, remember? But then a whale comes up from under me.
Okay.
And I'm holding onto this whale as it swims along.
Okay.
And then the whale, up from under it, comes a plane. And so it starts to fly with the whale.
Plane lifts up the whale high into the sky?
Yeah, and me too. And at first, I'm enjoying it. It's like I'm riding high.
Uh-huh.
And then I realize I don't have anything to keep me attached to the whale or the plane. And whales are pretty slippery creatures, at least in my dream. And so I'm starting to slide off. And I'm freaking out because we're getting pretty high up, and it's even getting difficult to breathe. And so I'm reaching around, I'm grabbing it, whatever I can find. Grab a bird. No, that's not what I need. I throw it away, and I keep and so then I fall, and the whale tail, and so I'm already scared of this height, and then the whale, whenever I get to the tail, it flips me way up. And then, so I'm even higher up. And then I start to fall. And I just keep falling. And then I have a different dream that it sort of transforms into where I'm in a chocolate shop. So, does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, at first glance, it totally makes sense to me. I mean, first of all, that's the stupidest dream I've ever heard in my entire life. Like, that's the stupidest sounding thing I've ever heard. Don't you dream about normal stuff? Like, I was about to say like candy, but you did say you were dreaming about chocolate at the end.
Well, the store, yeah.
But God, man, I was expecting I was having a dream that I drove a car real fast. But this is messed up, dude.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's go over it. So, okay, you're in a lake and you're swimming and you're enjoying yourself in the lake. So we can assume what's the only thing that you enjoy? Being a doctor, working at a hospital. It's the only thing you like. So
I was gonna say being outside in nature.
No. So you're out there, you're swimming in the lake. This is you working in the hospital. And then a whale pops up. And who's the whale? The whale is one of your patients. Maybe this is a patient with a big problem. A problem the size of a whale. Do you see what I'm saying?
Or if they're
you're holding on
large.
and you're enjoying all of this Well, they could also be physically large. So you're enjoying all of this, right? Because you said the plane then lifts up the whale. That's the gurney.
Oh, you think it's that direct translation, that it's a gurney?
The gurney is lifting up your whale of a patient, and then you're riding on top of your patient. Does this sound familiar, Dr. London?
Well, it sounds like my dream that I told you.
And you're feeling, while you're riding on top of your patient, you're feeling this joy and you're feeling this freedom, but then you realize there's no attachment. There's nothing holding you on to this gurney. And you're riding, I don't know, 4 or 5 feet up, right? So that's got to be scary. And so you start sliding off and you're grabbing whatever you can. But, like you said, your patient is very slippery. And so your patient that's all oiled up and has a bunch of like doctor goo on it, you're slipping and you're falling and then you keep falling. And then you land in a chocolate shop, which is the gift shop at the hospital. That's your dream.
So you think that your interpretation of my dream is just that it's a very
that
direct...
you were surfing on a wet patient of yours.
Yeah, you think it's a very direct translation. It's not like you don't think it's a metaphor for, say...
I think you had a big old wet patient who was huge and covered in oil and slippery as hell. Couldn't catch the guy. I think you were pushing him on a gurney, and then you said, I want to surf on this. And I think the outcome of that was you knocking over a bunch of stuff around you and you getting embarrassed. And that's why you're dreaming about it.
I don't think that happened to me.
Prove that it didn't happen right now. Prove it.
I don't know how I could prove that. But
all right, do you want to move on to the next dream since I nailed that one?
Okay. No, I can.
Let's do one more.
Okay. So in this dream, so I find myself in a field, and there's this tall grass, and I don't know how you feel every time you see a movie with the tall grass around and they're running their hands through it. All I think is chiggers. I think bugs. And I think my legs are going to be itchy afterwards. And so that's all I'm thinking in the dream. I find myself there and I'm so afraid of getting itchy. So...
You probably want to squish the bugs, huh?
Well, they're so small. They're not really, squishable. So then I walk along, and instead of being on, the dirt and grass, I start to feel solid wood, like I'm walking on a plank. And I find myself walking on an actual plank, like on a pirate ship.
Ooh.
Right? And I'm hearing, "Walk the plank!" And
Oh, no.
Yeah. And in that moment, what I'm realizing is, like, my legs are feeling itchy. And walking this plank actually might feel pretty good to get, take a dip in the water.
Yeah.
And so, I look back at them and I do a little dance in the dream and taunt them a little bit.
And then you make the big leap. You make the plunge, right?
Yeah. Well, I trip, actually, in the end. But, yeah, I do get into the water. And then this whale comes up under me.
Oh, wow. Another one.
Yeah. And then, so we're swimming along. And then this plane comes up under the whale.
Whoa.
Right? And we're flying, I want to say 4 or 5 feet in the air.
Yeah.
And then, this feels like deja vu a little bit almost describing.
It sounds like it's looping back around, yeah.
Yeah. I think there was a candy store. Anyway, so that...
Do you want me to tell you what I think of what you've been telling me?
I don't know if I... Okay.
All right, so you started off in a field, right, with tall grass?
Yeah.
So this is your place where you're constantly surrounded by sort of a comfort, sort of a... Not a comfort, but sort of just whatever you're surrounded by. It's like you and your favorite thing, which is medicine and being at the hospital. So being in the field with tall grass is you being at the hospital. And then you having all these bugs around that are annoying you, that you want to squish real bad. Who are they? Your patients.
So you
Think who in your life that you want to squish because they're so annoying and they're making you so itchy because of the diseases they're spreading. It's your patients. So then you suddenly, that clicks in your head that, oh, I want to squish my patients so bad. And then you flash to you walking on a solid piece of wood, walking on the plank. This is the medical board at your hospital. You think that if you start squishing your patients like you really, really want to, the board at your hospital is going to, quote unquote, make you walk the plank. They're going to fire you and possibly imprison you. But your dream is saying, hey, buddy, take the leap. Take a leap of faith, man. You know in your heart that this is what you want. You got to take care of some of these patients. And you know what I mean by take care of some of these patients. So then you jump in the water. The water is also the hospital and medicine and stuff. And then the whale is the big fat patient that you ride that's real wet. And then you're slipping and sliding on the patient. And so I think we've kind of figured out what you need to do with this patient of yours.
Oh, you think this is all tied to one specific patient?
I think you're slipping and sliding on someone.
Okay, well, thank you for... I don't, like, whenever you made references to the Dr. Goo and stuff, I don't know what you're talking about there.
I hate Dr. Goo.
I'm sorry, Dr. Goo, not Dr. Who. In any case, I guess thank you for your attempt at interpreting the dream, but...
Yeah.
But I think it was more just a dream.
You're just a dream.
Okay, well, let's keep the crosswords out of this.
Okay.
We can go ahead and move on from there, I think. All right, Cameron, you said that we had a special guest today. Is that right?
We do, Dr. London. You know how we've been sort of talking about the idea of having a co-host on this very show.
Yeah, I was thinking, to cover sort of the aspects I'm, I guess, less focused on some of the dieting or possibly even expanding to epidemiology, since
right, or like the intelligence, the saying correct things, actually covering topics that are beneficial to people, being likable, being nice, being sort of funny, just all the things, the areas where you're lacking, and then you can continue to bring to the table, your little game or whatever, little act.
You think this is a game, that teaching medicine?
Yeah, it's the only way that your life makes sense, is that you're intentionally creating the most bizarre life possible to maybe I don't know, maybe get on a reality show or.
Because you're describing the most bizarre life, but it's just, working in the medical field and then teaching medical lessons to listeners. Is that reality show to you? Does that sound that crazy?
No, what's crazy to me is when I was looking through your window the other night, you were stacking a cat on top of the dog, and then you were stacking a little mouse on top of the cat.
Well, I have my figurines, you know that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for our listeners. This is sort of my private life that we try not to dig into too much because I want to keep the focus on medicine.
I think regardless of what the focus is, you just kind of give off a sort of animal stacking guy type of energy that has been a negative for the show. I mean, our listener count has been stuck at 760,000 for weeks now.
Yeah. So no more downloads since that.
No, I mean we've been trying to push it towards 1 million, and it's stuck.
It's stuck at the one spot. Do you think it could be because your screen, like your computer, also froze that day?
Oh no, that's a different issue.
Because you haven't been able to use that computer for anything else since, right?
I think those are. I think the two issues are unrelated, though.
Okay.
Like I don't think people not listening to the podcast is what caused my computer to freeze. It was the soda.
I'm sorry. I guess I wasn't aware of that. Did you accidentally spill some soda on a computer?
No, I didn't accidentally do anything, nor did I spill anything. It was just my computer was making sort of a coughing noise. You know, it does it every once in a while. It gets really hot. It starts going. So I thought I'd give it a little soda as to kind of cool it down.
Okay.
And so I poured it into the floppy disk slot.
Oh, well, I guess I'm surprised that you have a floppy disk slot on your computer, because that seems a little dated. But in any case, so you know that electronics generally don't take kindly to liquids, right?
I know that my computer got really mad, and it froze up.
Oh, in a reaction to the soda?
Yeah, it hasn't spoken to me in days. And in any case, I mean, we got to get to this co-host thing, Dr. London.
Right. So
we have as our guest today my choice, my nominee, if you will, for the campaign of 2020 co-host. My choice is here today, and that's going to be our guest. Are you excited to meet them?
Yeah. So is this because I was looking at a few the options that I was sending to you, and one was an epidemiologist. I was really interested to hear their take on modern events, because a lot of big things are in the news right now, and seeing tracking the path of a disease is fascinating to me.
Right.
So, is it by any chance that one that I recommended?
No dice.
Okay, so we can get them. All right. So is it I don't know, physical therapist? I guess I should stop guessing.
I would say in a way, sure, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
All right, so who my nominee, he is the smartest guy I've ever met. The cutest guy. I just got to say it. He is a person who I think everyone loves and everyone sort of gets hyped for. When he walks into the room, people start doing that dance that goes like, one hop this time, one hop this time, hands on your knees, hands on your knees. Yeah, everyone does that most of the time, which I think is pretty rad. And I just think he would be a great co-host on the show. And his name is producer Cameron.
Is there another?
I deserve this spot. I deserve the spot. I deserve the spot. I deserve the spot. I deserve it.
So okay, you nominated yourself for this position. And to clarify, this isn't an
Give it to me. I
election.
deserve this spot. It's my spot. I deserve it. I should be co-host.
Okay, well, and while I appreciate you throwing your thing in the ring here, it's it's not an election. It's not a popularity thing. It's based on who I think could educate medical topics the best. You see what I mean?
Then why did I stay up all night making ballots, and then forging my votes into those ballots?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I have because I've seen a lot of voting booths that aren't at the designated areas all around town.
Yeah.
I've been seeing these.
I've spent so much money on rigging this election, and you're telling me there's not even an election.
Yeah,
that sucks, man.
I'm sorry to have to be the one to tell you. So no, it's a formal, it's a position that you apply for. It's a job, But I guess, okay, since you're all that's here,
I've been letting this Eastern European guy sleep on my couch in exchange for helping rig this thing. God.
Oh, wait, Sven? That's why he was there?
Yeah.
Because you talked about him like he was an old friend.
I mean, he's old as hell, yeah. I don't know how old he is. The other day, you know how people, old people, they remove their teeth before they go to bed? He removed his mouth. His mouth. With the lips and everything.
Okay, so he must have had some traumatic accident.
He removed that whole chunk of his face. Dr. London, I don't know how old he is, and he won't leave.
Okay, so it's a noticeable problem for you then. Okay. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Cameron. But in any case,
Anyway, I want to interview for the position of co-host. I think I've proven myself.
Okay.
I think as the producer, I have sort of unofficially functioned as the co-host for a long time now, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and I've even, our listeners who listen closely, they might have noticed I've called you a co-host a few times.
Sure.
And that was more because, you're supposed to kind of stay in the background as a producer, and then you would just chime in and ask questions when it was really, that was my job.
Okay.
And you were sort of pushing my thoughts and opinions to the side and then stating your own.
Oh, you wanted the show to be propaganda.
Yes.
So the other person on the show is pushing your beliefs. That's what you wanted. Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense. That puts this whole show into a new context.
Okay, well, rather than propaganda, that's not really the term I would use. This is sort of just educating with, evidence-based medicine. So I would call that not so much propaganda.
I don't think you need to educate medicine. Medicine isn't people.
I'm sorry, did I phrase that incorrectly? What I meant is to educate concerning medical topics.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make more sense?
Not really. Just to interview me for the job.
Okay. All right, so Cameron?
Yes, Dr. London.
A few basic interview questions. What would you say, you've already listed your experience, what would you say is your biggest strength as a co-host? What would you be able to bring to the table?
Oi, bruv. I would say that my biggest strength...
Okay, wait, hold on.
Yes?
Why did you put on an accent just then?
I think historically, maybe people with an accent do well on the radio and do well in podcasting because they have a little, zest to their vibe.
Yes.
Okay, well, one issue there is you do already have an accent. It's just an American accent. So you already have one. You don't have to adopt another one.
A non-American accent, then. I turn on the radio, I'm hearing all these guys with these different voices, and I'm saying I could be that.
Or are you listening to British radio?
Maybe.
Because that is probably the reason why.
Just continue on with the questioning.
Okay. Well, I guess try to answer the questions with your normal accent.
Okay.
So same question. What is your greatest strength? What do you bring to the table?
Hello, love.
Okay.
My greatest strength has got to be my ability to podcast.
I think my greatest strength as a co-host would be my ability to do the podcast.
Okay.
I will be there on time, around the time. I will put my mouth near the microphone. I will push the words using, the wind from my gut and my tongue. That's how words are. And I will be the co-host. And I think that is probably my greatest strength. Thank you.
Okay, so I guess to sort of summarize, your greatest strength is that you are technically, physically able to perform the job.
Absolutely. And I don't think that's true with my current roommate who takes out his mouth every night. I don't think he could do that. At least when his mouth was out.
Okay. Now as far as I knew, he was not, a contender for this role.
He is. He heard about it, and he has been arguing with me a lot about it, and he's vying for it pretty hard.
Okay. All right. I guess we'll consider interviewing him as well.
You're gonna consider interviewing him?
I mean, I would much rather have a medical expert as a co-host, just so we can keep reinforcing the medical facts. But in any case, we can move on from there.
But you're the boss here. You don't have to interview him. But you hear that this man with no mouth who I am letting live on my couch because I wanted to rig the election. You hear that he's interested, and you're like, well, I guess I'll throw him an interview.
I guess because Sven and I, we did bond a little bit.
Over what? Your hatred of me?
No, it wasn't that. But it was...
You were telling stories about me to each other, and that's how you bonded, huh?
Well, he didn't... I guess one of his biggest strength might be that whenever I spoke about medicine, he didn't immediately take the other side and say that I was wrong, which isn't a strength that you seem to possess.
You were telling that story where I went to the grocery store and I bought too many tiramisus, and I was trying to carry them all at once, and that I ended up tripping on them and stepping on them and sliding them all around and dropping the rest of them. You told him that story, didn't you? I told you not to tell people that story.
Okay, well, but he knew some of it already, and I just filled in some blanks.
Well, he knew that I guess I could walk and was able to trip.
Well, the part that he didn't know about was that what followed, because you said you bought them, but really you were running out of the store, and that's why you were in such a hurry, and that's why you tripped. And so then,
hey, you can't prove that. You cannot prove that I took them without buying them. You cannot.
Yeah, I mean, there were people watching. It was a whole show almost. Like, it looked like it came from TV with the footage and everything, and then the stun gun. So that's why it came up. It made local headlines.
All right, just ask.
Like, he read it from the newspaper to
me.
Me. And so I just filled in like, oh yeah, he told me about this.
It wasn't a newspaper. It was the cover of Time magazine.
Okay, we'll see.
They retracted their person of the year. It was originally, Greta Thunberg or whatever. And they said, never mind, it's this guy. And it was just a picture of me trying to carry 17, 18 tiramisus while also slipping on one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sliding around like a crazy person. They made me the Time person of the year for that.
So anyway, that's why Sven, I guess, has the chance for an interview potentially. It's
sure.
Because we bonded over that story.
Yeah.
So in any case, I'm sorry that's got you so down. Weaknesses. All right, could you tell me, and this is the part where it kind of tests sort of how you view yourself, functioning within a larger, company, and how you can work with others. What would you say your greatest weakness is?
Weaknesses, I would say probably like piano. I don't think I'd be able to carry or even pull a piano, which would make me feel pretty weak.
Okay, so your weakness would be your physical strength.
It would be a piano, maybe like a I think maybe a smaller car. If it was a smart car, I bet I could push that. But if it was maybe like a tank or some sort of fighter jet, I would probably be unable to lift those, I would assume. And that would make me feel pretty weak.
Okay. I guess, and for the podcast, that wouldn't come up so much. So that is in your favor, that your weakness that you can identify, that you can't lift a piano or a tank. Those types of issues wouldn't necessarily be a problem within the context of this role as a co-host. So, I guess that's in favor of you. Okay. What about your past employment experience before this podcast? Have you ever been a co-host before?
Hello, love. Okay. I used to be the co-host on WTF with Mark Maron.
Did you, though?
Yeah, Mark Maron, he likes to talk about his cats and everything at the beginning of the show. And for the first year or so, I would come on. You have to listen closely because I was mostly like kind of far away in the background. But I'd come on and be like, hey, I'm one of the cats. I'm Mark's cat. Feed me. Hey, Mark, I heard that Richard Kind is going to be on the episode today. Isn't that pretty interesting?
Okay. So were you credited for this?
I
It
guess you
sounds
could
like
ask him maybe about Spin City or A Bug's Life.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds interesting. I'm not sure that it's. Well, that is a big podcast, so that could bring some, I guess, extra credibility and spotlight to this one.
Absolutely.
Okay. And
I can't do that anymore, though, because of, the order.
the court order, you mean?
Just an order. You know,
Well, if it's from a court, then you would call it a court order.
one might call it a restraining something, or a something order.
Restraining order, yeah. So
I can't do that anymore.
So-
I can't bang on his garage while he's recording and say, "Hey, I'm the cat. I'm the cat. I'm the cat." He made sure I can't do that anymore.
okay, so I take it that you weren't given the credit for that.
No, I mean, no one gives me credit for anything. No one does.
Right, because you weren't hired for that.
I mean,
role.
I basically popularized the show. The dude has $1 million. I basically did that. And I get no credit for it.
And I hate for it to get to this point, but I guess the conclusion that I'm already coming to now is that
You said it. Did you hear what you said?
no.
You said, I mean,
What do you mean?
you said, well, I wasn't really listening. So you said like blah, 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 but blah, blah, blah,
Okay.
blah.
So you're saying because I said but. Okay. The point I'm getting at here is we're going to go ahead and talk about what we'll consider your application, but I'm going to go ahead and take a closer look at Sven's application.
No.
Because Sven,
No.
He is-
No. Absolutely not.
he has previous
No.
experience.
Okay, yeah, he's worked with Conan a little bit, but that is not that doesn't count.
Well, why shouldn't it count? And,
Because
I called to check.
Because
High praise.
because
In fact, Conan called me back himself. Conan himself. He called me to say, you should hire this man.
yeah.
Sven did so much for me. And it was like very personal. He started, I guess he's not usually like this on TV or whatever, but he sounded like he was tearing up.
Damn.
And so, Cameron, whenever I called, because I did see on your resume, right here, Mark Maron. So I made the call to try to find out, check about your past work, and it wasn't good.
What do you mean? What did Mark say?
Everyone who I called about your previous work experience,
They talked in a low piratey type of British voice.
oh, the ones who would talk to me, those were the nice ones. Most of them, whenever they heard your name, like one of them, I'm pretty sure vomited on the spot and hung up. But yeah, there was someone who talked in a low pirate voice.
Yeah. Was it almost like every person you called who said anything remotely positive about me maybe sounded like
Yeah.
like a man, like a producer doing a piratey type of British voice? Well, actually, Dr. London, I've got a couple questions for you, Dr. London. So
Okay.
what are your goals for to be a host on this show?
Okay, that's a great question. So, our goals in the short term are just to make sure that we stay as medically accurate as possible, that we keep
Ooh,
educating.
I just think we're gonna go a different direction here. You seem like a nice guy, but I mean, you're interviewing right now for the job of the co-host on the Jock podcast, and I just don't see it happening.
Well,
So,
I'm sorry, I should clarify.
Thank you
Cameron.
for coming
I
in.
am the host.
Thank you for coming in. I know it was a long drive. I'm sure I don't really know where you live, and I don't care. So, but we might just need to wrap things up here. I think I'm just going to be the host of the show. So I think I'm just going to be the host of the Jock Doc podcast from here on out.
Well, no, I am.
Unfortunately,
the host.
oh, Dr. London. Unfortunately, you just gave the wrong answer. You're just not who we're looking for.
My name is on the logo.
That sucks. That sucks, man. That really sucks. Your name's on the logo and everything. You probably got business cards about it. Well, I'm really sorry about that.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess you are wrapping things up. I would also like to wrap things up. I think this interview's pretty much over. I think I've heard enough that we'll keep you on your role as producer. Since that's what's available to us.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, I'll producer and host of the show. I'm just going to be working on that. And then I don't know what you're going to be doing. I guess being a doctor. Go do that. But thank you again for sitting down for the interview. Perfectly, you seem like a perfectly nice guy. So thanks again. This has been the Jock Doc podcast. Thank you for listeing, and take some medicine. Take some medicine today. Did you take your medicine today? See ya.
And also thank you to Digital in the House.
I deserve this spot. I deserve the spot. I deserve the spot. I deserve the spot. I deserve it. I deserve it.
I deserve it.
My name is drlondonsmith.com. That was Cameron, our producer. This has been the Jock Doc Podcast.
See ya.
I deserve it.
I deserve it.
She reaches up and pats your cheek with a flirty laugh, and then saunters off with a bit of a wobble. Wowza, what a gal. Why, you never felt a slap to the face that soft in your life. You should visit the old folks' home more often. And while we're on the subject of things we should do often, thank you for listening to the Jock Doc Podcast. Since it is already on your mind, maybe it's time to go ahead and write that 5-star review of the Jock Doc Podcast in which you describe to us your favorite part of spending time with the elderly. And while you're at it, go ahead and share the Jock Doc Podcast with that coworker who always acts like their podcast recommendations are so much better. You can send them a link to your favorite episode or just send them our handy website, jockdocpodcast.com, where they can pick up their preferred way to listen. And don't forget to give us a shout out on social media. We are at Jock Doc Podcast. Thanks for listening.